And we're live.
Hey, welcome everybody. Hi, thanks for joining us today. I'm Jean Johnstone, and I'm the Executive Director of Teaching Artists Guild. We're based in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. I'm calling you from Oakland today, and we're super excited to talk to you about the mapping initiative that we've been working on for a couple of years and just premiered this month. I am joined by some awesome people on our team. We have Kenny Allen, our membership director, and Mr. Eric Booth, teaching artist, master, author, and extraordinaire. We have Nicole Ripley, who's joining us as one of our National Advisory Committee members as well, and Sadie Washington, who has been helping us on our outreach and data collection in the San Francisco Bay Area. So we're going to take you through a ton of fabulously interesting information today as quickly as possible. And I'm going to start off with just a little bit about TAG, and I'll hand it off to my colleagues here to take you through some of the other pieces. So Teaching Artists Guild is a national organization. Like I said, we're based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we're dedicated to strengthening the field of teaching artistry. We do that because we want to create a thriving and sustainable profession for ourselves and our colleagues, and serve a nation in which the arts are accessible to everyone. We started off in the SF Bay Area, 2009 maybe. I'm kind of guessing. It was a loose coalition initially, and we banded together a little bit more formally over the years. And in 2013, we decided to create a national organization from what had been a local organization. Our team started attending conferences with the National Guild for Community Arts Education, and we got into conversation with folks like Nicole and Eric and many, many others across the United States, and realized that while there were a lot of interesting efforts going on around teaching artistry and arts education, for teaching artists, nobody seemed to be really talking to each other. And we began to think, perhaps there is some space here that we can fill. There's a job here that we can do in networking these bodies more closely and really serving artists who work in these educational and participatory settings across the United States. As I was putting these notes together, it kind of occurred to me, this is really coming full circle in a lot of ways, because that realization for what this organization could be as a body really coincided with this concept of, where is everybody and what's everybody doing? We don't really know. How do we find that out? Yes, okay, let's join together. How do we track this information? How do we find all the fascinating work that's going on out there? So this notion of the map kind of began to form around the same time that TAG as an organization really did. And we've been working on it ever since. And finally, we get to deliver it to you and really see it in use. So I'm pretty excited. I'm going to hand it over to Eric to talk a little bit about some of our concepts around this project and the implications for the field a little bit. Please note that if you have questions, and I hope you have questions, you'll chat them to us, and we'll be following up at the end with time for Q&A.
So I'll provide a little history. I'm old enough to do it. The impulse for this, I was lucky enough to be there when it arose, came out of an effort that many teaching artists have felt, which is, what's wrong with us? We've got this field. We know there's a lot of people in it, but we feel disempowered. We feel invisible. And yet there's all these people. How do we begin to gather our own strength? And there was a series of experiments and projects that got launched through the National Guild for Community Arts Education to see if we could actually take collective action and manifest things into the world. And the realization, just as Jean was saying, that led to this idea was the really kind of sobering recognition that we had no idea where teaching artists were, what work they did, how to get in touch with them, either in a local or a national basis. So the idea arose, and as you'll discover in a few minutes when we get walked through the platform, it took a long time to get it simple enough for us to use efficiently and effectively. I know how hard they worked and how scrappy and let's say determined they were to bring this into the world, in a world that wasn't particularly interested in helping it happen. There's a couple of pieces of history that are, to me, important around this project. Not only that this is really our first chance to make ourselves visible to one another and the wider field, but number two, this is really our first national opportunity to take collective action together. It's our first chance, really, to get past our habits of disempowerment, and even more, get past our habits of not engaging when we might. I must say we have a bad habit as a field of hearing ideas, thinking they sound good, and then not really joining in them. There've been, I don't know, in my decades, maybe 5 or 6 opportunities that have arisen where the field could have risen up and actually moved itself forward, and teaching artists just did not join. They thought it was a good idea, but they just kind of didn't get over their habit of disengagement. This is an opportunity to break that habit. Number one, the invitation is rather modest in terms of how much work it requires of a participant. And number two, it makes us visible to one another. So I'm going to be relentlessly insistent that we not only take responsibility for registering ourselves on this map, but that we get our colleagues, our friends, even those people we don't know very well, to get past their bad habit of disengagement, to engage those maybe majority of teaching artists who live on the periphery of employment and bring them in. They are hard to find. We don't know where they are. And I will just say before turning it over that I think one of the ways to make this work, and we'll talk more about this when we talk about implementation, is if we can actually have a local focus. If we can have leaders rise up locally to take responsibility for getting their own region, their own city, or their own area on the map, and taking responsibility to reaching out and reminding and nagging and pushing until we have a really substantive majority of our field represented on that map. That not only makes us visible, that breaks this long time habit of feeling disempowered and disengaged, and begins to convince us that we can actually accomplish things together. So more later.
Thank you so much, Eric. Yay. Hopefully, all of you who have joined us have had a chance to go ahead and look at the map. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to take you over there. We're going to do a little screen share. I'm going to walk you through the map itself. After that, you're going to hear from Nicole and from Sadie about a little bit our outreach process and how to get involved really specifically. Kenny will talk to us about some of the back end, some of the tech, and some of the upcoming features we're going to add to it, and we'll be able to take all of your questions there at the end as well. So that's where we're headed. Who is this map for, by the way? We built this very specifically for teaching artists, but it's really much bigger than that. In order to serve teaching artists, we have to serve many other groups. We serve the arts education world at large. We are here to do this work for our students, for our community members. So this work serves school systems, it serves researchers, and of course the arts providing organizations as well. So it's three major categories of people that we try to kind of hit with this as a tool. We realized early on in the project that not only could this just be a really great way to connect the teaching artists and the arts organizations to each other, to strengthen our network in our field, find more work, all these kinds of things that are so important on the day-to-day, but this was also a fantastic tool to begin to look at where programs were offered and where they weren't. It was an equity issue, not only for the labor force, the teaching artists, but also for the folks that we serve across the United States. And so those two things in tandem became the driving force behind this project. And I'm going to, let's see here, screen share with you. Hold on just a second. Application. This one right here, and let's see if this works. Okay. Is everybody seeing the map here? Yes. Okay. Fantastic. So here we are. It's looking really colorful. You'll see across the top, right up here, that you can add yourself very easily by signing up. Or if you've already signed up, go ahead and log in and you can find yourself and edit and add more photographs or update your bio and things of that nature. I'm not going to walk you through the logging in or the signing up process particularly, but just kind of give you an overview of this map itself right now. So let's see here. You'll see across the top we have profiles of folks who've recently joined the map. And every day we're seeing more and more people and organizations jump on, which is really exciting. On the left-hand side, you've got a search bar, so you can search up here for anything in particular that you like. But you can also search by asset type, a teaching artist, an organization, or a program. These are our art forms. And this was maybe the most simple seeming and yet really interesting how this changed as we developed this. We thought, okay, art forms, great, easy. Listed a bunch. Everybody in the group kind of said, oh yeah, those seem like the art forms. And then up until the very end, we were hearing from people who said, oh, you forgot about circus, you forgot about opera. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Yeah, we don't want to leave anybody out. So if you see something there that really isn't covered, please do let us know. This is a work in progress and you'll see more versions as we go. But for now, you can see the art forms that we landed on over here, and you can choose to associate yourself with multiple art forms or indeed just call yourself multidisciplinary. You'll see a box for none. Why would we say none? Well, we want to include organizations particularly that may not be thinking of themselves as primarily arts providers. The YMCA is a great example. They are all over the United States. They provide a lot of after-school arts programming for young people. What would they put in as their primary art form? I think they'd be hard-pressed to say what that was. So for someone like that, an organization like that, you could click none, and then you can get into more specifics as you fill out your profile around what kinds of art forms you actually offer. For example, dance or theater or whatnot. Let's see here. So we have a variety of filters that you can search by as well. Some of our teaching artist filters include this biggie right here. Are you available to hire? Are you looking for additional work right now? Yes or no? We hope that'll be really helpful for people. Another button that was just recently added in this process after years of development was, are you willing to travel? In California specifically, where we did a lot of the initial work on this project, there are some fantastically served urban regions and some lesser served urban regions, but there are great swaths of rural areas that are having difficulty serving their populations because there just aren't very many teaching artists or arts organizations in those areas. So it's a big deal to be able to find someone who's willing to travel a little bit outside of their direct region, who maybe could go to one of these more rural areas, for example, and work out there. Um, we have years of experience and population experience. So you can go through there, and this will show up in your profile about what kinds of uh, communities you have experience working with, and then project experience as well. Um, Organization filters, somewhat the same. Are you hiring? Are you actively looking for teaching artists? Fantastic. And what kind of populations do you serve? And then finally, program filters. So we get down into location type as well. Um, All right, let's get up to this beautiful picture up here. Whoopsie, I'm swinging into the Gulf of California. Um, mhm. So you will see from this map, and we'll zoom us back out again, that there are a couple of regions that are really hot right now. New York region is one of them. Vermont is another. In California, we have the Bay Area is really going bananas right now. Lots of people adding themselves to the map, and we hope to see it all lit up with so many of these colors as we move forward. Nicole and Sadie, after this, will take you through a little bit of what our outreach process has been and how you can do that in your own community as well. But for now, let's see. I'm gonna take us over here to San Francisco Bay Area, where it is drizzly and gray today, this late morning hour, and zoom you in a little bit, and we'll look at a couple of profiles. Okay, square us up here. All right. So let's see here. I am going to check out Frame Art Studio. You can see that when you click on a dot, you get just a little bubble that pops up, and that will show you just the basic information, and then you can go to their more full profile for further information. We can look at, let's see, ooh, a green one. Who's this? Hey, ooh, this is a new one. The Walt Disney Family Museum. Let's go to their profile. Aha. Okay. So we have what kind of art form they work in. They're a media arts and digital arts organization based in San Francisco. We get a web address, a phone number, and an email address. You can also add Twitter handles and other things in this area as well when you fill out your profile. You'll see there's space for a bio or a mission statement as an organization. And we can see, okay. So they have a space to talk about their programs and also to link to their teaching artists, which these guys haven't done yet. But they have listed their various art forms and the communities that they serve. Then you'll see on the right-hand side, similar profiles in different areas. You can kind of click through and see other organizations with similar characteristics. Let's see here. We're going to go back to our map, and we're zoomed back out again. Let's find an individual to look at. I'm going to take us over here. We're traveling the country at an astounding pace, and zoom in a little bit. Where am I trying to go? I'm just making y'all dizzy. Chicago. What's the weather like, Chicago? Let's see here. Okay. So we have a smattering of organizations as well as individual teaching artists. Um, this is very random, you guys. I'm just going to click on somebody and we're going to see if they've got profile built up. Oh, we have Ravens Theater. That looks really interesting. But let me see if I can grab one of these individual dots. And here my dexterity is really showing. Huh. There we go. Ah, this looks interesting. That Q Brothers Collective. All right. We've got a group of teaching artists here. And you can see for their profile, again, location, web, Facebook and Twitter links, intro, art forms, etc., and then various other profiles. And you can just go on in there, explore, poke around, get a sense of what other people have done thus far, and hopefully that inspires you to fill out your own profile and share with others, and let us be able to find you. Oh, this person has added organizational connections. That's fantastic. Some of the places that they have worked. And all kinds of information. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to our map. Beautiful. There we are. Yay. And let's see. I'm going to take us back out of screen sharing and let Nicole talk to you a little bit about the process that we went through in onboarding this initial set of organizations and humans, individual humans, and a little bit about that process. And hold on to those questions, and we'll get you at the end. Okay, let's see. Let me find my stop screen sharing button. Dun, 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 dun. Am I back to video?
Yes.
Hooray! Thank you. And thank you.
At sort of the usability of the map. And of course, you know, the idea is that these profiles are serving to connect people to resources, people to organizations, organizations to individual teaching artists, that will really help strengthen the field in terms of creating these connections to opportunities, and also professionalizing the field and visibility, like Eric was talking about. And I think that one of the things that we're really feeling on this team is that the map is as strong a tool as the participants that are on it. So this again speaks back to what Eric was saying in terms of really trying to get people on board and to be using these profiles and to be filling out as much information as possible so that this can be a very strong and useful tool for the field. And, you know, of course, it's designed to serve the entire field of teaching artistry. And so our goal now is to get the entire field represented on the map. Our process sort of initially in doing so was to beta test the map in certain regions across the country. We did that in the San Francisco Bay Area, Chicago, and in the New York City area. So many thanks to our early users for their feedback as we worked out some of the kinks and answered some questions in terms of what was most useful to people who are using the map. And now we're beginning to roll out on a wider scale, which I'll speak about in a minute, but I wanted to hand it to Sadie for a minute because she was really instrumental in sort of this early onboarding in the Bay Area and can talk a little bit about how that process went and what we learned from that.
Thanks, Nicole. So I was able to join this project or the tag team through a project out of the Alameda County Office of Education called the Alliance for Arts Learning Leadership. And what's really unique about sciences of arts organizations in the Bay Area. So it was a relatively easy process to start with because it felt like this network of arts organizations in the Bay Area were friends of friends. So it was starting with that knowledge, asking directly the arts organizations, those existing parties, like, hey, who do you know, or who else do you know existing in your field, asking them for lists of the organizations that they partner with, and just really organizing that in a way, it's really just going back to what Eric and Jean were talking about, is that this is a collective body, and really manifesting that, and in a way that is really something that you guys are going to start doing. Definitely start out with your arts commissions, people that you already know, and then it just kind of goes down the line and segues into a beautiful map like we have now. Yeah. So with that, I think there's some more information that maybe you can.
Yeah, I can jump back in.
Yeah.
So after we did this early onboarding in these 3 different regions and worked out some of the kinks and details, our official launch of the map was on November 14th. So we are live, and this webinar is one way for us to really spread the word far and wide about this tool and how it can be used. We're really excited that this launch has been done in conjunction with some early onboarding from communities across the country, and enthusiasm is mounting. Specifically, we've had some support and participation from communities, again, here in California, Santa Cruz, Sacramento, San Diego, the teaching artist community in Vermont, notably Portland and Seattle. And we're hoping that this momentum will just continue to gather and grow. When we were looking at the map with Jean a few minutes ago, you can see that it is starting to really fill out and become even more robust in some of these hubs. And the hope now is that we will be able to fill in some of those swaths of the country that are looking white on the map, because we know that there's work happening there. We know that there are people there, and we want to get them on the map too. We want to represent all of them. And remember that this is about individual teaching artists, as well as organizations, as well as programs, and then also field assets. Who else is part of our ecosystem that's supporting the work of teaching artistry that's important to map and understand as a resource to the field? All of that belongs on the map. And so our profiles enable you to add yourself in any of those categories, and in some cases in more than one. So if you are, for example, the director of education for a hiring organization, you can add your hiring organization as an organizational profile, and then separately, under a different email address, can also add yourself as an individual teaching artist or field asset, for example. So how do we continue to spread this tool? That's the next step. We are making a call out to communities across the country for your help. We'd like to ask for your participation in helping build participation in your region or area. So for people on this webinar, this is where you take up Eric's charge to note the good idea and then put that into action. Can you share or promote this tool at a local TA training, your organization's TA training, or perhaps there's a regional professional development meeting that happens regularly? Do you have other ideas about ways to spread this in your larger network? Perhaps you could help organize a forum or help push it out in other ways in your networks. Do you have access to existing data within your regional network that we might be able to link to help create a more robust picture of what's happening nationally? Have you added yourself to the map, and have you gone back in to add the details of the organizations you're linked to and the programs that you help to serve? And what about those that you work most closely with? Have you encouraged them to jump on and join us as well? So if you have any ideas about any of these above, are excited as we are about this tool and want to help us promote it, then please get in touch with us. You can do that at membership@teachingartistsguild.org. That's a great way to say, hey, I would love to bring this to our regional roundtable of teaching artists, and I have a training coming up, and I think I'd like to bring my laptop and get people to sign up there. The idea is that we focused on these regional hubs to kind of get it rolling and make sure that the tool was usable and was working best for people. And now the idea is to populate it. Because again, it's supposed to serve and represent all of us, but we need all of us to represent us in order for that to happen. Yeah. So thanks. I hope you join.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I want to add that in addition to these on-the-ground efforts, which are really the primary way to do this, to build this network, we are also collecting existing data sets. So if you know of or have participated in a data collection effort around arts education in your region and you'd like to share that with us, you certainly can. We're working with the folks in Los Angeles, for example. They've been doing some incredible data collection over the last couple of years, and are allowing us to onboard these large data sets onto the map as well. We're working with a few other partners currently, so you're going to see some of that magically arise next time you log in, hopefully, and over the next couple of months as we add those existing data sets in. But that can't do it all. We know that that won't capture all of the interesting information out there and all of the individuals. So please go ahead and add yourself and share it individually. And that's how we build the network as well. So,
one quick comment. I, having registered myself and talked to a number of friends who have, it takes about 5 minutes to put in a basic registration, a little bit longer if you want to get fancy, but just to recognize it really is not a big ask of your friends. You're not asking them to kick into a major volunteer effort. You're asking them to take a simple, natural step of the order that we all take all the time in our professional lives. Second, just one little note, in some recent projects of mine, we've been trying to reach teaching artists who are not in the regular loops of the local arts council or the kind of the loop of the mainstream arts organizations. And we've had to go to extraordinary lengths to get contact with these people. And they turn out to be fantastic teaching artists, but they have felt disconnected. And the only way we've been able to find them is through friends of friends. And so if you know teaching artists who aren't in the mainstream loops of, you know, the hiring channels that tend to get used, you are the link for getting those people to join our community. It is your call and then your repeated call if they don't manage it after the first reaching out. And the difference is we actually get to own the size of our field and the significantly more diverse set of skills that we have that don't normally show up when we go to the usual teaching artist suspects who are well looped in.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks, Eric. I'm going to hand it over at this point to Kenny Allen, who not only is our membership director, but has really single-handedly wrestled this amazing project and pulled it into being. He's going to take us through some of the notable tech moments, and then we'll go into some additional features we're adding and your questions. But I want to also just thank Kenny so much for all of the work he did on this project. It was truly amazing. So Kenny, thank you.
Aw, thank you, Jean. All right, so I'm here and ready to answer any tech questions you have. I'll be monitoring the chat. I won't be replying to the chat as fast anymore. That was me, if any of you chatting in, but I'm seeing your questions and I'll try and respond as they come in. First, I'll just talk a little bit about the vision that we've created so far for the development of the map going forward. We really built this map application from the ground up and created our own software for it. It's why you'll see some bugs in there that might not be with a professional social network like Facebook or something like that. But it also means that as we go forward, pretty much any feature that we dream up that we say, hey, teaching artists really need this, and it would be smart to have it connected to the map in some way. We're pretty unlimited with what we can do. So the most helpful thing to us is if you email in, chat in, contact us however you want, and let us know what you'd like to see on the map in the future. Let us know which parts are the most useful to you, what you think is the most valuable parts to you. And you can also let us know which parts you're not using or which parts are confusing to you. I need to get something new set up on our website to allow you guys to submit that feedback in an easier way, and so that it stays there for other people to see what feedback has already come in. And I hope that that'll be coming in just the next couple of days here. But for now, email is a great way. There's also a little chat box on the site, and during normal office hours, someone's here to respond to you via that, and can help you with any sign-up troubles you have or other technical difficulties in the map. Some bugs that still happen occasionally that we're aware of when you first sign up, some people will notice that they don't immediately appear on the map. Usually a really quick and easy fix for that is just to make any edit to your profile and resave your profile, and it kind of wakes the map application up and has it submit your dot to the map again. So that's an easy one to fix on your own, but I'm helping people with that all the time. And every once in a while we get someone placed in the wrong location. Most of the time that's because they've entered an incomplete address, or they used abbreviations that our mapping function doesn't recognize. So some people understandably want to just put in Los Angeles, California, or something more general like that. And a lot of the times that will work. Every once in a while it won't. So if you find yourself in a strange place, check that that might be the case. So to go over some of the hopes for the future for the map, other features that we're already thinking of and dreaming up. My hope is the next things that we're going to be adding are going to be premium features. So it will be for our tag members who have a paid membership. That money is what allows us to create this. We are a very, very lean and mean team, and we try to make the most of that membership support. So the features that we're going to be building in for those members are going to be similar to things that you may have seen on other job application sites. We're going to try and tie the map in more closely with our job board, so that if you are a teaching artist and you have the right qualifications for a job that was just posted to our board, it'll let you know and it'll alert you if you've marked that you're looking for work. We'll try and put you higher up in the results if you do mark that you're looking for work, so that it's easier for organizations to find you. Also for our paid organizational members, we're going to tie in the aspects of creating a job closer into the map, so that as you create a job listing, if there are teaching artists that we see on our map that are within the radius that you're looking for and they match the qualifications you're looking for, it'll go ahead and show you those, so that you can immediately start to see, here are some applicants who are potential candidates for this job. There are other smaller things like I'm going to be adding the ability to customize your profile a little more. We may add cover profiles or cover photos, or the ability to change colors on your profile and add more photos so that you can show off some of your work. That'll be especially important for some of our teaching artists who do more visual work. And again, I would love recommendations from all of you out there about what other features you'd like to see added on after that. So that's my talk for all of you about what's coming next on the map. I think unless something has come up with any of our other presenters, it might be time to jump into Q&A.
That sounds really, really good. All right, what do we got?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to review the little pieces of the chat that came in while I was talking, but the question we got towards the beginning is one that we've gotten via email a couple times already, and it's about the idea of one person who might see themselves on the map either as an organization or as an individual or both, and how people should make that decision. Can either Jean or Nicole, one of you, talk about that while I go and review the rest of our questions that have come in?
That sounds great. Yes. Nicole, I feel like you're going to be well suited for this one.
So I think a great way to answer this question is to think about the tool that the map is, which is really to represent as many different aspects to our field and community as possible. So I sort of mentioned this when I was talking earlier, but many of us in this field wear more than one hat. And that's just the nature of a lot of our work, and that's a wonderful thing. And so I don't think that you have to make a choice about representing yourself one way or the other. I think that we want to encourage as much as possible for you to represent yourself with all of the hats that you wear. So if you are a teaching artist that has your own business, then you want to represent yourself on the map. Probably, oh, I'm worried I'm going to misspeak. Jean, will you help me here?
I will totally jump in. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let me start this a different way. If you are a director of education or a program director for a hiring organization, then we encourage you to create a profile for your hiring organization, because that is an organization that will be represented with a circle on the map, because you hire and work with teaching artists. Now, if you also work as an individual teaching artist for that organization and or for other organizations, then you will want to create a separate profile that represents you as an individual. So you can have a profile where you're wearing your organizational hat, and a separate profile where you're wearing your individual teaching artist hat, because many of us are teaching artists and help run programs. Something that's important to note, however, is that you're going to have to create two different profiles. And so, and in order to do that, you're going to have to use two different email addresses. This is really important, because what has happened for some people who are using their organizational email address for their individual teaching artist profile is it's merging the two profiles, and it's a technical issue. So you need to choose sort of your email that's going to represent one profile and the other. And you need to sign out of one profile to sign into the other. But really, both should be represented. And we hope that you won't stop at one or feel siloed or sort of cornered into one thing, because you're not one thing. So please do both. And in our sort of asset map onboarding page, it has very clear instructions about kind of what these buckets are. And these buckets are purely just sort of the nature of data and mapping, not to make you feel like you have to be one thing. So start with one and then go back and do the other. And hopefully the instructions on that page will help you sort of think about how you create and how you represent your profile for each of these particular assets that you are. And if you're more than one asset, that's awesome. Yeah.
Well put. You nailed it.
I want to quickly bring up the example of that we saw earlier as Jean was guiding us through the map of the Q Brothers Collective. It's an interesting data point on the map, because if you saw the dot marked them as an individual, and it's a collective of teaching artists, but I think it actually works well as a individual point on the map, really, because if you think about who's using it, if you are a education director or someone looking to hire teaching artists in your area, you're probably going to be filtering out the organizations, not the individuals. So if you are looking to be hired as a teaching artist, even if you're a group of people, it may be good for you to be on the map in that way. So things, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I was going to add something, and well, there you have it.
One thing I can add, Jean, just to piggyback off of that, that was the Q Brothers were one of our early beta testers, and they sort of determined, because they don't hire outside teaching artists, that made most sense for them. Again, we trust you to make the call that makes most sense for you, because we also think that if you're a teaching artist that primarily runs your own programs or business, then feel free to add yourself as an organization if that feels like a better fit. So again, that sort of distinction between individuals, organizations, and programs is made clear when you go to the asset-map page to sign up. And hopefully that will clarify a little bit more too.
Yeah, great. Okay, so some other questions have come in. And before we get to those, I just want to acknowledge Todd just commented about our affiliations feature, being able to show the organizations or TAs that you're connected to. He says, I'd love to be able to see the connections visualized as a web someday. Me too, and hopefully that will be something that we can make happen in the future. Okay, we have a question about finding TA training organizations in Southern California, specifically for this person. And that's something where it's one of the reasons I think that we created the field asset art form type so that people can mark themselves as that. If you're someone who serves teaching artists, and if you're trying to find someone who serves teaching artists, that can be a useful way to use the map. Unrelated to our map, TAG also has what we've been calling the big list of teaching artist training programs. And that is something that you can submit programs to yourself if you know of any, but it's a huge list and it's been growing over the years. So that's on our website, should be under the resources tab. And that should help you find some. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to divide up by location, but that's there and it's great.
Penny, also, presumably, the more that organizations fill out the types of programs that they're doing, the hope is that if you're some organizations that are purely professional development, teaching artist support, might be on the map as a field asset. Some might be hiring organizations that have training programs. And so the hope is that those would be added as programs, and then you could go to the map and search by program type for training or professional development and find things in your region that way. That's another way to sort of work it and think about it.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so we have one more question I think that's come in. Someone was asking about, are we covering the 5 boroughs in New York or the whole state? The map is absolutely intended to cover everywhere. So the whole state of New York, absolutely. Any area that's on the map that isn't filled in with lots of beautiful dots and circles, we'd love to get it filled in. So yes, right now we have some partners that are in mostly the Manhattan area of New York. And so they've been helping us to connect and get a few folks on the map there. So that's why you're seeing more dots over there, but we'd love to fill out the whole state.
It'll be interesting to see that evolve, and we're really looking forward to your participation and help on that. One thing we noted as we've watched this evolve just over the last couple of weeks is that our partners in New York, in New York City, tend to be individuals because they're connected through the Arts Education Roundtable and the teaching artists represented there. So we're seeing a lot more individual teaching artists represented over there. In the Bay Area, for example, we started outreaching primarily to hiring organizations and arts providers. And so you'll see a majority of the providers listed at the moment and fewer of the teaching artists. So we're looking to balance those out, but depending on who the partnership is with, you're going to see more in some areas, or more of, let's say, the theater community in Chicago has really gotten on board, but it hasn't necessarily trickled over into these other art forms. And slowly that, just in the last couple of weeks and days, has been evolving, and it's kind of fun to see as it appears.
Yeah. We have 2 more comments that have come in real quick. Todd is saying, I want to encourage members of the Arts Education Alliance of the Bay Area and similar organizations to brag about their affiliation in their profiles. Membership affiliations are a great indicator of professionalism. I'd also love to see what funding orgs and programs have received. I'll just address the first part really quick, bragging about affiliations in their profiles. I hope to make that easier for you guys in the future. If you have specific ideas of examples you've seen of other network sites or something that have done a great way of showing off affiliations, let me know and I can take that into consideration. But hopefully we'll be improving that in the near future. But you can already add connections like you would to an organization. And then I'm curious if any of the other presenters here have anything to say about the seeing the funding that orgs or programs have received.
I can speak to that a little bit. In some of the research that we initially did around the map, we looked at other mapping projects in the arts and in the arts education world. And there's some fantastic resources out there which do map funding sources. And it's not something that we've worked into ours, but it would be really interesting. I do want to call out the importance of funding for this work. Kenny mentioned earlier that we are a small and scrappy organization, and that is very true. So we rely on teaching artists membership to help us out, but we also owe a great deal of thanks and a lot of gratitude to our stalwart funders who have been with us over the years and really helped us to give birth to this project. So I wanted to call them out really quickly with great thanks to Aroha Philanthropies, to the Stewart Foundation, William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, the Clarence E. Heller Charitable Foundation, Walter and Elise Haas Fund, and the California Arts Council. Without our funders, we could not have built this project. And in order to keep it going and enriching it, we're looking, of course, for further funding to really make this as brilliant as it can be. So if you have connections and ideas about that and you want to partner with us in your region to really bring folks on board, then give us an email and we'd love to work with you to make this happen.
I would add one other thing about funding. One of the great frustrations of my life is how badly the arts funding community has treated teaching artistry. That they certainly rely on teaching artists to accomplish most of the pioneering work that they do, but they don't fund the development of teaching artistry. They don't fund the few support systems we have in our network. And I think that's largely because we're invisible. It's been very easy to ignore us because we don't have a voice, we don't have a presence. This map is a way to change that perennial equation that has been so recalcitrant in the development of the field. So even though we can't exactly connect the dots, that when we finally get the 25,000th teaching artist to register on the map, we then have tipped, we've reached a tipping point that funders will finally recognize this field they rely on deserves some support. But in fact, it really starts to develop a different conversation with funders when they can look at that map, see the emerging network, see the presence of teaching artistry in these areas that they want to serve, and in fact can start to support the development of the field.
Hear, hear. We're a unique workforce. We're a hybrid profession, and it's a fascinating place to be. But it really there's not a lot of buckets for us in a way, right? We can be reached through hiring organizations from time to time. But as a profession, we haven't really fit in a lot of the existing buckets, and that's been a challenge for us. I am hoping that this project will help to change that, and that we'll see increased funding for professional development, for teaching artists, and for support for this profession writ large. I like us. I like what we do. I want to see everybody be able to make it in this profession without so much struggle. We do such important work, and to be able to create a really thriving and sustainable profession is so important for our ability to really affect our communities and the kind of change that's so necessary right now and that we're being asked to do every day. With that, we're nearing the end here. I want to encourage people to go to the website, not only log in and sign up and do all those things and share the heck out of this, but take a look at that landing page for the map. There's a frequently asked questions section with a lot of information there. There's a separate blog piece that talks even more in depth about some of these issues, some of the thinking behind this, who's this for, how will it work, some of our partnerships, and so on. So please check that out as a research, and do get in touch. We're friendly. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Kenny, if you have any last questions that have trickled in, throw them at us.
We have one last one that's come in. Someone was asking, how are we publicizing the map?
Oh, that's a great question. Does anybody want to take that, or I'm just going to keep talking? So we're publicizing the map in a number of ways. We created a press release, which is being shared, and I believe that's on our website, right, Kenny?
I don't know if it is yet.
Rats. But we are sharing out in our quarterly magazine, which is an online magazine and an asset to all of you, hopefully a useful tool. We talk about it there in great detail, and we're sharing with all of our partners and organizations. So you'll see this pop up in the newsletters of national and regional organizations over the next couple of months. Americans for the Arts is one partner. The National Guild for Community Arts Education recently shared about us at the conference, and will go out in their newsletter, and a couple of other organizations like that. But that's really the power of the network, and where we share this. It's sort of like we're building it and we're sharing on it, and then we're building it a little more and we're sharing it out. So we really rely to all of you and your networks to go ahead and talk about this and share about this. Oh, I should add, we do have a really interesting partnership in California. There's a new effort by an organization called Create California. There's a public will campaign that's being mounted throughout the state, and it's got focuses particularly in Los Angeles and also in the San Francisco Bay Area, which Sadie has been so instrumental in working on as well. And we will be shared about via this large public will campaign around arts education, the importance of arts education as an equity issue. So that's going to be fun to see unfold here in California. But we'd love to partner with other efforts in your states and regions to get the word out about this project. With that, I think we're about at the end here. I want to thank all of my team, our National Advisory Committee, our funders, our members, our amazing members. Thank you so much to all the beta testers who wrote in after trying again and again to enter their profile, and they ended up in Antarctica or whatever it was. Thank you so much for all of your help and support. We really appreciate it. And we will see you online. I can't wait to see all of your profiles pop up after this call. This will go onto the YouTube page and onto the website, so you can refer back to this should you have need. Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.